23. We had agreed to knock off mind control tricks for the rest of the day, at least big tricks that might get people stirred up. I did manage to knock 22 minutes off the school day by speeding up the master clock that controlled all the clocks in the classrooms. As we were leaving school, it occurred to me that everyone was going to be 22 minutes late in the morning, except Mndlshn and me. Later, Aln Mndlshn persuaded we'd better be late too, so as not to arouse suspicion. Aln Mndlshn had a lot of junk in his room. He liked to pick up all sorts of things in the street and empty lots. He had lots of wire and odd pieces of metal that came off of cars and machinery. We headed for his house to see if we could work out a better type of antenna. On the way there, we picked up a brick from the place where they were building a house. That was going to be our test mind control subject. The idea was to try different antennas on the brick, giving it the same mental command each time. The best antenna would get the best performance. We set the brick in the middle of the floor of Aln Mndlshn's room. Then we took turns giving it commands to rise into the air, without using any antenna at all. It didn't budge. Then we both commanded at once. No result. Then we pointed a metal ruler and a ballpoint pen refill at it and gave simultaneous commands. No soap. Aln got a big coil spring. He put that against his forehead and commanded the brick to rise. It wobbled a little. We tried a loop of wire, half an army bayonet, a metal tennis racket, a Boy Scout trumpet, and various odd bits of metal we didn't know what they were. Nothing made the brick rise or do anything more than vibrate slightly, the way it might as if a heavy truck went by. Aln Mndlshn dug around in his closet, which was very full of all sorts of odd junk, and came up with something that looked really promising. It was Rabbit Ear's television antenna, but not the ordinary kind. This one had a knob on it and 8 rusty brass-plated hoops encircling the base, in addition to the 2 rabbit ears, each of which had little crystal cylinders about halfway up with a coil of copper wire inside. Super Signal Booster, it said on the plastic base in letters of tarnished gold. This definitely looked like it would do the job. There were 2 wires coming out of the base of the Super Signal Booster, and we each took one of them and pressed the little brass horseshoes at the end of our foreheads. We gave the command, "Rise, rise!" The brick shot up to the ceiling and made a large dent. Aln Mndlshn and I looked at each other. This antenna really worked. We tried it again. Rise slowly. The brick floated up to the ceiling like a balloon and bounced gently against it. Descend, we forgot to say slowly. The brick fell like a brick and made another big dent in Aln's floor. We need to practice with this, Aln Mndlshn said. This antenna certainly has possibilities, I said. With this antenna and a little practice, Aln Mndlshn said, we could... His voice trailed off. We could make the school float, I said. Yes, we could, Aln Mndlshn said. We could levitate it. Levitate? Yes, that's what it's called when you cause something to float in the air. That's just what we did with this brick. It's about the hardest thing to do in all magic. You almost never see it. Aln Mndlshn was really excited at the prospect of making Bat Masterson Junior High School float in the air. You don't think we could make it float away altogether? I asked. We'd have to practice a lot first, Aln Mndlshn said. Just getting it off the ground is going to be no easy feat. What's more, we have to decide if we want to send it up empty or with everybody on board. If we send the school up loaded, we'll have to be sure that we can set it down again gently, or we'll wind up killing everybody. Aln Mndlshn had a point. In fact, he had a number of them. Mind control was one thing that when you were dealing with a pebble or even a brick, but you started sending buildings up into the air, you had to know what you were doing. We needed to do a lot of practicing if we were going to get it right. The workmen at the construction site had gone home. We went back to practice lifting bricks. Behind the place where they were building, there was a grassy hill. We went down there and sat down with the Super Signal Booster pointed at the big square of piled bricks. The big square pile of bricks. The brick pile was 40 bricks long and 12 bricks across. It was 12 bricks high, so there's 480 bricks to a level, and a total of 9,600 bricks in the pile. We commanded one brick to rise, just an inch. We didn't want to attract any attention. It rose up an inch. Then we commanded it to set itself down. Then we had 2 bricks rise an inch, then set it down. That worked. 3 bricks, 4 bricks, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 15, 20, 25, and the 25 bricks dropped with a loud crash, landing slightly out of line instead of settling neatly into rows as they had when we had tried the same trick with a smaller number of bricks. A couple of the bricks even cracked when they fell. I was afraid of that, Aln Mndlshn said. We don't have enough power. Just then an exterminator's truck came by. Dr. Kills 'em, it said on the side of the truck. All his patients die. There was a picture of a cartoon guy in a doctor's suit. He had a bag full of carpenter tools and was holding a flit gun. For some reason, I thought of Dr. Prince. Holy cow, I said. I've got an appointment in Hogborough with my psychologist in less than a half hour. I'm going to be late for sure. I'll ride into Hogborough with you, Aln Mndlshn said. I've got nothing to do. We ran for the bus. We were lucky. One was just coming when we got to the bus stop. If we ran from the bus terminal to the office building, I'd only be 5 minutes late, or a little more. We were sweating when we arrived at the building where Dr. Prince had his office. Alan rode up in the elevator with me. People stared at us. I guess we looked strange to them. 2 sweating kids in tennis shoes in a fancy office building in downtown Hogborough. Dr. Prince, this is my friend Aln Mndlshn. Is it okay if he waits here for me? I said. Of course it's all right, Dr. Prince said. You're more than 5 minutes late. You must be full of aggression. That's a good sign. Come in, Leonard, my boy. I went into Dr. Prince's office. He seemed very happy that I had come in late. Psychologists are strange people. Well, Leonard, Dr. Prince said, tell me what happened when you came back to school after being absent for 4 days. Nothing happened, I said. Nothing, see? What did I tell you? Dr. Prince seemed really happy. I guess he was a nice guy, just misguided. And you came here late, he went on. You weren't afraid to be late. I'm really pleased with your progress, Leonard. I decided to tell Dr. Prince about Clogharsh mind control and hyperstellar archaeology and making bricks rise into the air. He seemed to want so much for me to confide in him, and it wasn't his fault that he was a psychologist and got things mixed up. I told him about going into Samuel Clogharsh's bookstore and everything that happened since. He made a note in his little book when I told him about the fresh corn muffins at Bermuda Triangle Chili Parlor, and he wanted to know the address. When I got through telling Dr. Prince all about my new powers, he said, Leonard, I can't tell you how pleased I am that you trusted me enough to share your psychotic fantasies with me. Now we'll really make some progress. They're not psychotic fantasies, I said. I'm telling you the truth. You'll have to prove that to me, Dr. Prince said, rubbing his belly and removing an imaginary hat. I had left my metal ruler and ballpoint pen at the Aln Mndlshns' house, and we had hidden the super signal booster in the bushes when we ran for Hogborough bus, so all I could have done to prove my power was to have made Dr. Prince rub his belly and remove his hat, which he was already doing. Besides, I really didn't feel like proving anything to him. I was sort of mad at him for making fun of me. Let him believe whatever he wanted to.